I heard you fought against KGB troops in the Virtuous mission, but this time you're up against Spetsnaz. Spetsnaz is the Special Forces unit of GRU, the intelligence wing of the Soviet Defense Ministry's General Staff Office. Spetsnaz troops undergo rigorous training in all types of special ops, from assassination and demolition to intelligence gathering. That and Volgan's loaded, man. His unit is one of the best equipped in the entire Soviet Union, if not the best. I heard the enemies you encountered in the Virtuous mission were only carrying weapons like AKs and grenades. Well, it ain't that simple anymore. That Order of Lenin that Granin was talking about is the most prestigious award in the Soviet Union. It's given to individuals, organizations, and cities for outstanding achievements in warfare, science, industry, the arts, and various other fields. You could say it's the highest honor the East has to give. You say Granin was involved in the development of the SS-1C. The SS-1C is the Soviets' newest short-range tactical ballistic missile. Based on what Western intel has been able to gather, it's capable of being launched from a mobile platform.
A mobile platform?
Yeah. It's a transport vehicle that functions as an erector and a launcher. It can travel on roads, then erect and launch a missile from any location. Of course, in addition to conventional explosives, the missiles could also be fitted with chemical or even nuclear warheads.
A nuclear missile that can be launched from any location.
I'll bet it wasn't the missile itself that Granin helped develop. More likely, it was the mobile platform. From what I've heard, the SS-1C is set for actual deployment as early as next year. That's bound to send a chill down NATO's spine. That thing Eva was carrying is a gun, disguised to look like a tube of lipstick, also known as the Kiss of Death. It's a hidden weapon used by KGB spies since around 1950. The gun uses 4.5mm rounds. It only carries one shot, but that's enough to get the job done if you fire it at the right spot from point-blank range. They don't call it the Kiss of Death for nothing. Hey, what's that you've got there?
Thermal goggles. From what I can tell, they detect and display sources of heat.
You're kidding me. They actually made a passive infrared night vision device small enough to carry around with you?
What, is that special or something?
Is it special? Here in the West, we've just barely got the technology to install it on aircraft.
So that's what that thing is they put on the gunship. But doesn't the Army have something like that for driving vehicles at night? I thought I saw...
You mean the ANPAS-5? That's an active infrared night vision device. It fires infrared beams from an infrared projector and uses the reflections to build an image. Those goggles you've got there are completely different. Basically, when you've got those equipped, you'll be able to spot enemy soldiers in the jungle with ease, even if they're camouflaged. They might even help you find traps. But you won't be able to see the terrain as well, so watch your step. People have been using dogs in wars since before recorded history. The Greek and Roman armies used to send out packs of dogs with spiked collars to charge at enemy ranks. Attack dogs were regularly employed in the First and Second World Wars as well. Traditionally, dogs have been used to keep watch, send messages, and assist in search operations. Then the Soviets came up with a new idea, using them to carry bombs.
Bomb dogs?
Yeah, they were trained to dive beneath tanks carrying a payload of bombs. Apparently it worked pretty well, but the Russians messed up, man. They used their own tanks for the training. Turns out the dogs kept going after Russian tanks and blowing them up, so the plan was scrapped before it got off the ground. Well, I don't think you need to worry about those dogs exploding on you. They don't seem to be the bomb-carrying type. But they are highly trained in tracking and detection. Don't underestimate them. They're excellent trackers and ferocious fighters. Flying platforms are a type of personal VTOL aircraft.
They were working on those in America, too, weren't they?
Yeah, back in the 50s. They were supposedly going to be used for scouting and patrol missions, as well as to spot for artillery units and transport troops into rough territory. They even got an initial prototype off the ground in 1955. But the thing wasn't fast enough, and there were problems with getting it to stop and turn in midair, so they ended up scrapping the project. The ones you see there were built by the Soviets after they got their hands on the American design plans. The American model used a pair of contra-rotating rotors to generate lift, but those Soviet models seem to be using jet engines instead. They must have kept going with their research after the US abandoned its own project. Now they've finally overtaken us. You gotta give them credit for sticking with it. Snake, that's an MAZ-535, a Soviet-built 8-axle tractor truck. During World War II, most of the heavy transport trucks the Soviets used were supplied by the US. but apparently their performance wasn't quite up to the standards of the Soviet military. The problem only got worse after the war as the size of the Soviet strategical rocket forces grew larger. The Soviets realized they needed a heavy transport truck with excellent cross-country capability to haul their ballistic missiles. So in 1954, they started work on a new truck design over at the SKB MAZ Design Bureau in Minsk, Belarus. What they came up with was the MAZ 535 you see there. There are a lot of variations on the MAZ 535. What do the headlights look like on that one?
It's got 2 of them.
Then it must be one of the later production models. The early ones were equipped with infrared lamps. Looks like you've got some TNT. TNT is short for trinitrotoluene, a pale yellow crystalline compound made from a trinitrified mix of nitric acid and sulfuric acid. It's used throughout the world as a military explosive. It has a low sensitivity and is chemically stable, making it easy to handle. It's also got a low melting point and can easily be shaped by boiling or steaming it. But because the sensitivity is so low, you need a booster to actually get it to explode.
No problem. It came with its own remote control detonator.
Good. Then all you have to do is press the weapon button to place the TNT, and then press the CQC button to set it off. The map screen in the survival viewer will display the locations where you've planted TNT. You know that army motorcycle that Eva was riding? That's a replica of a German model.
A replica?
Yeah. After World War II, the Soviets confiscated an entire assembly line from a German motorcycle factory, machines and all.
And then they took it back with them and started producing replicas?
Exactly. Originally, that motorcycle was designed to be used with a sidecar attached. That means it's got enough power to drag a 200-plus pound sidecar around.
So that's how she could pull off all those crazy stunts.
Uh-huh. Of course, it takes a lot of skill to be able to control that much power. That Eva chick is something else.
SIGINT.
Yo.
Eva said she set up a ground effect vehicle for us to make our escape.
So I heard. The ground effect vehicle, or WIG, is something like a cross between an airplane and a boat. It uses ground effect to fly. Ground effect basically means that when the craft skims the surface of the ground, the air between the ground and the wing is compressed, which gives the wing an extra boost. From what Western intelligence agencies have been able to gather, the Russians are pretty serious about developing these WIGs. Apparently, they're planning on using them for anti-submarine patrols. I guess I can see why. The WIG's long cruising range and high-speed capabilities make it a good choice for that kind of mission. Eva must have gotten her hands on one of the first prototypes while it was being field tested as a transport craft. The WIG has a top speed of over 400 miles per hour, and its range is pretty good too. Not that speed is going to help you if you've got a supersonic fighter jet on your tail, but if you hug the surface and stay off the radar, you should have no problems getting away.
Tell me something, SIGINT.
What's that?
What does SIGINT mean, anyway?
It's short for Signal Intelligence.
Signal intelligence?
The part of intelligence that deals with electronic information. Things like intercepting and analyzing electronic communications, determining enemy force strength and positioning from radar emissions and radio chatter. You get the idea. Code breaking is considered part of SIGINT as well. 40 years from now, we'll be in the age of electronic warfare. It won't be long before information replaces firepower as the most valuable commodity on the battlefield.
So you're saying they won't need guys like me anymore?
Sorry to break it to you, but that's not going to happen. No matter how advanced our technology gets, there's still no substitute for human beings. Anyway, the Major is a man of foresight. He knew the electronic age was coming, and so he called out to me.
And you responded?
Well, I didn't have any place else to go.
You couldn't find a job?
Nope. None of the places where they do this kind of high-tech research would even let me in the door.
Why not? I know you've got social problems, but...
Come again?
Nothing. I mean, someone with your talent ought to be able to...
Yeah, well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm black. The Major, though, he doesn't care about what color you are. I've never met anyone like him before. He's different, you know?
Oh, yeah, I know.
I don't think racism's going to go away even in the 21st century. But I want to work with computers and use them to bring people closer together. In the digital world, it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, American or Russian or whatever. Everybody's going to be the same. That's what I think.